They were severely punished and even sentenced to death for what they didn't do. The inability of the police to find the real culprits led them to take on innocent people as replacements. Unfortunately, the condition of the issue of race at that time was still not good enough in certain areas of America, making black people often criminalized by the police. These are some of the people with the heaviest sentences who have been successfully released and cleared their names. Number 1. Ricky Jackson. Ricky Jackson served the longest jail sentence ever served by an exonerated defendant in American history, 39 years, for a crime he did not commit in an Ohio prison. He and 2 pals were detained for the murder of Harold Franks in front of a nearby convenience shop. When a pair of attackers pummeled Franks, shot him multiple times, stole around $425. 12-year-old Eddie Vernon, a neighborhood newsboy, claimed that Jackson pulled the trigger. Ronnie Bridgman bathed the victim in acid, and his brother drove the getaway vehicle. 3 different jurors believed the young man's testimony despite the testimony of several of his classmates, who said that he was not in the area of the crime. Jackson and Bridgman were found guilty of murder in 1975 and given the death penalty via electric chair. Then, on a technicality, his death sentence was commuted to life in prison in 1977, and the U.S. Supreme Court declared Ohio's death penalty law unconstitutional the following year. Jackson entered Southern Ohio Correctional Facility as an ordinary inmate. In 1975, Eddie Vernon withdrew his evidence, claiming that the police had forced him to name Jackson and the Bridgmans. Prosecutors dropped their accusations against the 3 men in 2014. Number 2. Central Park. In spring 1989, in Central Park, New York, a 28-year-old white woman, Tricia Maley, found beaten and raped. She spent 12 days unconscious. The Central Park 5 were Kevin Richardson, 14 years old, Raymond Santana, 14 years old, Antron McCrae, 15 years old, Yusef Salam, 15 years old, and Corey Wise, 16 years old. The 5 teens were sentenced to 6 to 13 years in prison after being found guilty of crimes such as attempted murder, rape, assault, and robbery. Police had forced them to make fictitious admissions. Even though the DNA evidence from the semen at the crime scene did not match, the admissions were enough to convict them. In 2002, Matias Reyes, who was in prison for a series of rapes and murders, finally admitted it was he who attacked and sexually assaulted Tricia Maley. The DNA also matches that of the crime scene. The confession came after 12, at which time they had almost completed their sentence. Number 3. Dontae Sharpe. Men from North Carolina, United States, Dontae Sharpe, in prison for life on charges deadly shooting of George Radcliffe in 1994. He was only 19 years old at the time, and it was only 26 years later that he was found not guilty. There is no forensic evidence against him. Only one witness, a young girl, Charlene Johnson, who was 13 years old at the time of the murder, had just been released from a mental hospital. She wasn't even at the scene. She just watched it happen on TV. But it was only revealed 26 years later. Johnson withdrew her statement. She initially claimed to have seen Sharpe kill at the urging of detectives and tempted by a $500 reward. Dontae Sharpe released in August 2019. In 2021, he received a full pardon from the governor of the state of North Carolina.